Do you find it hard to remember things? Perhaps you want to remember more of what you read in your textbooks, or maybe you are trying to memorize the names of your new friends. Whatever the case, you might be able to get a little help from an unexpected source: music. Music can make memories, enhance memories, and even help you learn new things. And it's all thanks to the unique way that music interacts with different parts of your brain. So if you want to improve your memory, why not try listening to some tunes while you study or ponder your next big idea? We'll tell you how that works right now. Most people think of memory as a single process, but it's actually made up of several steps. First, you have to encode the information you want to remember into your brain. Then you have to store that information until you need it and then retrieve it when you need it. Different kinds of memories are encoded, stored, and retrieved in different ways. For example, you probably wouldn't hum the national anthem to remind yourself of its lyrics. And although music can help with the storage and retrieval of certain kinds of memories, its effects on each stage of the process vary. Let's take a look at how music affects your memory step by step. When you first perceive something, whether it's a melody or a math equation, your brain encodes that information so that it can be stored in your memory. This initial encoding often happens in the cerebral cortex. And different areas of the cortex handle different kinds of information. The occipital lobe, for instance, handles visual stimuli like colors and shapes, whereas the temporal lobe handles auditory stimuli like sounds and speech. Some research suggests that music activates a network of brain regions that allows it to bypass the normal pathways that other kinds of information travel along, making music particularly memorable. That might be why songs with catchy melodies stick in your head long after you've stopped listening to them. But this doesn't mean that music is better encoded than other information. The catchy tunes that you hum along to are only a small part of the larger musical experience, such as the emotional impact of the lyrics or the beat. When you listen to music, there's more going on in your brain than just the processing of raw sound. In fact, a 2014 study found that music activates a network of brain regions that go beyond those involved in processing basic auditory stimuli. In particular, the researchers found that music activates regions of the brain associated with reward and emotion, which may explain why we enjoy music so much. So when you listen to music, you get more out of it than just the sum of its parts. You process not only the individual notes and chords, but also their emotional and contextual meaning. And this richer processing may result in better memory recall down the line. But even with all this extra oomph, music isn't necessarily better encoded than other kinds of information. It's just processed differently. Once your brain has encoded the information you were exposed to, it has to store it until you need it. This storage phase typically takes place in the hippocampus and other structures deep within the brain. These areas are responsible for converting short-term memories into long-term memories. Music can play a role here too, perhaps because of its ability to evoke emotion. A 2018 study showed that music can reactivate patterns of brain activity associated with the original context in which you heard that music. This means that music can help you access memories that would otherwise be difficult to retrieve. So if you use music as a background while studying, you might be able to use the music to remember what you studied. In this case, the music acts as a retrieval cue. In fact, there's evidence that background music can improve memory recall in a variety of contexts, from remembering spoken words to remembering pictures. However, it's important to keep in mind that these studies often use carefully selected music, such as pleasant instrumental music without lyrics. So we don't know yet whether music that you like will have the same effect. It turns out that the type of music you listen to may matter. While sad music can help you remember sad memories, happy music can help you remember happy memories. And that's not just because of the lyrics. A 2021 study had participants listen to either happy or sad instrumental music while memorizing pairs of words. They found that the participants remembered more words when they were paired with music that matched the emotional tone of the word. For example, participants who listened to sad music while studying the word pair breakup said remembered the word sad better than participants who listened to happy music while studying that pair. This suggests that music can help you remember things that match its emotional tone, whether you're remembering the music itself or something else entirely. The final step in the memory process is retrieving the information you want to remember. Like storage, this step can also be influenced by music. As we mentioned earlier, a piece of music can serve as a retrieval cue to bring back memories associated with that music. But music can also help you remember things unrelated to the music itself. For example, a 2013 study found that students who listened to music while studying performed better on a surprise memory test than students who studied in silence. And it wasn't just the students who performed better overall. Those who listened to music also remembered more of the specifically musical information they had studied. In other words, music helped them retain information regardless of whether the information was musical or not. In general, this kind of boost to memory is thought to happen because the brain processes music and other kinds of information in overlapping networks. So the act of retrieving one kind of information often brings back related information that was encoded in the same networks. This phenomenon is known as associative memory. Researchers aren't exactly sure why this happens, but it might be related to the way that different kinds of information activate similar networks in the brain. Or it could be that the brain simply stores information in broader networks as a kind of efficient space-saving measure. Either way, the end result is that music can help you remember things you never even heard while listening to it. Overall, music seems to be good for your memory, but it's not a miracle worker. It may even do more harm than good in some circumstances. For example, background music that includes lyrics can interfere with your ability to encode verbal information. So if you're trying to remember what you read in a textbook, you're better off reading in silence. Likewise, if you're trying to memorize a song, it might be better to turn off any background music so that you can focus on the song you're trying to learn. If you want to use music to improve your memory, it's best to keep these guidelines in mind. First, choose music that's pleasant and appropriate for the task. Background music should be relatively quiet and not too distracting. And you'll probably have better luck with instrumental music that lacks lyrics. Second, use the same music during encoding and retrieval. If you listen to classical music while studying for a history test, try listening to classical music while taking the test. Third, consider the emotional tone of the music. Research suggests that sad music can help you remember sad memories and happy music can help you remember happy memories. So if you want to use music to remember something specific, try to match the emotional tone of the music to the thing you want to remember. And finally, don't rely on music alone. Using music as a retrieval cue can be helpful, but you shouldn't use it as a crutch. Make sure you're actively trying to remember the information you want to remember. Otherwise, you won't reap the benefits of music or any other memory strategy. Music can be a powerful tool for improving your memory, but it's not a magic bullet. If you want to improve your memory, make sure to use proven techniques such as spaced repetition and active recall. Music can help you remember things, but it's no substitute for good study habits. We hope you enjoyed learning about the science behind how music can help you remember. If you did, make sure to check out our other videos. And if you want to keep learning about memory, we recommend checking out our video on the psychology of forgetting. Thanks for watching.